Just wanted to talk, that's all.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Thanksgiving week, and welcome back to our guy, Terrence Kem. We call him TK. TK, how you doing, my man?
Doing well, man. Thanksgiving coming up. Year's flying by. It's almost over.
I got to say, I love the slick back hair. You're giving me Jack Nicholson vibes here, but like 70s Nicholson. Like, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest Nicholson. You're an actor. Do you have a Nicholson impression?
It's kind of wait till they get a load of me.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. That was really good.
That was off the top, too, so.
That was good. I'll give you some time to work on it, and we'll try it again next off season, and we'll see how much you've improved. But we got something special for you this week. We got a 2-part episode. So in this episode, we are going to talk a little bit about Fernando Tatis Jr., the sort of, I don't want to say rant, but I guess the exposition by Michael K. that the Yankees should go out and get Tatis. It's something we've talked about on this channel before, but I talked about it with Ryan Garcia, and I wanted to give Terrence a chance. We're going to talk about Hal Steinbrenner. We had a call last week about his legacy. And at the time of the call, I hadn't really given it much thought because I think of legacy as something that you don't really talk about until it's complete, right? But I guess that's not really true. You can cement a legacy before it's done, and you can change your legacy with things that happen late in your career. So I kind of wanted to go through what is Hal's legacy as of this moment as the Yankee owner. And we'll do the same thing for Brian Cashman. So TK, are you ready for an action-packed 2-part episode? And we'll tell them what episode 2 is about at the end.
Let's do it. I've been kind of itching to get back on the air. It's been a little bit, so let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead and start with Tatis here. So Michael K. basically said on his show the other day that the Yankees should go ahead and get Fernando Tatis or try and swing a trade. I'm going to play a little bit of that right now in case you haven't heard it.
Now, what do the Yankees need this year? Need a right-handed bat, right? Fernando Tatis is 26 years old. He'll be 27 at the beginning of January. Coming off a year where he hit 268, 25 home runs, 71 ribbies, 159 hits. He's a brilliant outfielder. He plays right. He could play left easily. We know that he came up as a shortstop, so he could do that too. At the end of 2020, he signed a 14-year deal for $340 million. And at the time, people were aghast. Aghast. Not anymore. You know what the average annual value of that contract is? $24.29 million a year.
All right, so that's the basics there. He is a steal at just 26 years old. He'll be a free agent basically in his mid-30s, so you're not locking somebody up until their 40s like they, have done with guys in the past. Even with the PED suspension and all the motorcycle stuff in his past, I still think he's a fantastic player. I think he would change the team in a number of ways, and I would be fine with him in either left field or as a transitional shortstop. I don't think he would mind coming back to shortstop. That would feel kind of like A-Rod moving to third, or Jazz moving to third, like when he came over. So, TK, give me your thoughts on this proposal by Michael K. Where do you land? Do you think that the Padres possibly being sold could impact the, desire to trade him? And how do you think he would fit in with New York? Could he play shortstop? Give me a take on all of that shit.
I'm in 100% lockstep with Michael. You want to make a big splash this winter? Here's a big splash. I think that the ownership situation with San Diego definitely has an impact on him getting moved. If the original owner was still alive today, he passed away a couple of years back. I don't think this is happening. It's not even a conversation. He's their franchise guy. But, they got a little bit of turmoil right now with selling the team, and siblings are suing each other. It's crazy over there. But he is, I think, exactly what this Yankees team needs. Platinum glove level fielder. So I have every confidence that he'd be able to play left. I think he's athletic enough to play center, honestly, but I don't really think they would do that just as an option a day or two. I definitely think he could go back to short. I think he's a better outfielder than he is a shortstop, but he is definitely a serviceable shortstop. And offensively, what can you say? The guy hits in the postseason. He's got flair. He's got swag. He's got a little bit of an edge to him, a little bit of FU, if you will. And I think this team kind of needs that. And most importantly, he's a right-handed bat. And you kind of have to salivate at the prospect of him, hitting hitting in front of Judge. Like if you put him, because he's athletic and he's fast. So I'd probably hit him 2 and Judge 3. But I think it's a slam dunk, and I would be willing to give up Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones, another pitching prospect. Like those names are all on the table for me to acquire a guy like this. Because I'll leave you with this, Derek. Think about it this way, right? So he's 26. He's about to be 27 years old. If he was a free agent right now, 9 years, $292 million is what you'd be signing him. That is a ridiculous steal for a player like this. You do that 1,000 times out of 1,000. It's just a no-brainer. Now, the contract, I think, is backloaded, and that's fine. And I guess the only thing that would give me a little bit of pause is with the CBA, and we don't know what's going to happen. Is there going to be a salary cap? That's a lot of red right there. There's going to be a salary cap. I think contracts are going to start to get a little tough to maneuver, but Grisham's 22 this year. That'll come off the books pretty quick. DJ's last year. That'll come off the books. So there'll be some money that frees up, but Yankees will have some pretty large contracts that they may have to massage with the incoming maybe salary cap. But we know Steinbrenner's in favor of that.
But I agree with you. I'm in lockstep with Michael K. There was a time where I wanted no part of Fernando Tatis because I didn't like his shtick, right? But I think that he's maturing as a human being. He's learning how to be a rich and famous athlete. His power from the right-hand side of the plate is tremendous, but he also can hit for contact. I mean, 268 doesn't sound amazing, right? I mean, but that in today's game, that's like 20 points plus above league average, right? And he should be still, having his prime in front of him. He's 26 years old. He might have 3 or 4 years like coming up where he's getting better. I mean, we saw Judge in his 30s. He's had a couple of MVPs, right? So this is a guy who would completely change the Yankees, and it would feel a lot like the A-Rod trade or like when you got Giambi or Sheffield. Like, now, I know that those didn't result in like immediate championships the way that we wanted them to, but like this used to be a team that went out and got the biggest stars, right? And I felt like since Garrett Cole, we haven't been trying to do that. I mean, they tried to sign Yamamoto, right? They obviously tried to sign Ohtani. They went out and got Stanton when he was an MVP, but Soto. Soto was more of a move out in I feel like the Yankees fans bullied Cashman into trading for Soto because they missed the playoffs, and it was basically go get Soto or you're going to miss the playoffs again. Fans were calling for him to get fired. He would never have traded Michael King if they hadn't, if they had a decent year before that. We'll talk more about Cashman later, but I want them to be the evil empire again, and this would be a move in that direction.
Yeah, right. I mean, they lost Soto last season, obviously, and then they signed Max Fried. And it's not that Max Fried isn't a star in this league and a really good player, but he's not Fernando Tatis. He doesn't have the same star power that
he's a star. He's not a superstar in the way that Tatis is, right?
That is, I think, the better way to say it. Like, Fernando Tatis is a superstar in San Diego. So think about it that way. You put this guy in the Pinstripes in the Bronx, I mean, it would be unbelievable. It would be, the star power would be ridiculous. And as far as him, like, he's had some immaturity sort of thing where the PD, that was a problem, the motorcycle. I think this is a Yankee clubhouse that can really handle that. Judge leading the way. I mean, there was all this stuff about Jazz coming in and he's a cancer in the clubhouse and they all love him. So I really think that there would be some sort of similar effect to Tatis, and he would kind of come into his own as he gets older. But I'm looking at his numbers, and I think he's like a 280, 30 home run player. I mean, that was kind of a mid-season for him. I would say the one thing that concerns me a little bit is he has a bit of a problem with injuries. He just has that body type a little bit. That would be the one downside to it. But I mean, come on. It's just, I feel like you have to do this if it's even available.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't bet on it, but it is a wild card that's sitting out there. Let's talk a little bit about the man who might be able to pull the strings to make this happen, Mr. Hal Steinbrenner. I can't believe he's only 54 years old. I thought he was like in his mid-60s from looking at him, but he was, basically my age when he took over the Yankees. He was in his late 30s. I'm 42. He has been the owner since 2008. He won the championship right away. And I feel like he was flexing in that moment. Like, I'm the new owner. I'm going to spend big. We got a new stadium. Let's go out and get Cece. Let's get Burnett. Let's get Teixeira. He was trying to win one for his dad, for his pops, who, everybody knew was not in good health at that point. He had, kind of disappeared into the shadows. And I think he knew that the end was near, right? I mean, he was in his sunsetting phase. And so he wanted to win one more for the boss. He has consistently spent money. I'll give him that. Payroll over $250 million, approaching $300 million pretty much every year. He's very analytical. He's open to change. He made the change to the longstanding beard rule or beard ban, the facial hair policy last year, which, I thought was cool. I thought we had some cool facial hair, but people pretty much forgot about it right away, and nobody talks about it or cares about it anymore. But I think it's cool. So I want to get your thoughts on Hal Steinbrenner. Like, what are the pros and cons of Hal, in your opinion? Like, what do you like about him? What do you dislike? What do you wish he would do more of? What do you wish he would do less of? That type of thing.
Well, I'll start with he spends money. Like you said, he's always got a payroll in at least the top 5 in the league. You cannot say that he does not spend money, because that's just not true. He usually makes himself available to the media. I feel like he's not really running away. There's a video of the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates like literally running away from fans in PNC Park. It's hilarious. I don't know. Look, you're not going to walk into him in Yankee Stadium. You're not going to just bump into the guy. But he does make himself available for press conferences and stuff like that. And I appreciate that he doesn't just hide. Occasionally. Yeah, but more than some owners. Some owners don't even speak. So, like, I'll give him,
this is true.
The mark there. My biggest problem with Hal Steinbrenner is just the loyalty to Brian Cashman. And it's not to say that loyalty is a bad quality. But what did Jeter say? It was like, loyalty, like one way.
Loyalty, one way is stupidity. Yeah, that's
exactly,
a great quote.
Right? Yeah, it is. It's because it's so true. It's like a Jeterism. It's almost a Yogiism in a Jeter way. But I think it's like, look, is Brian Cashman a good general manager? Well, he's made the playoffs pretty much most of my life, and they won the championship in 2009, and they went to the World Series last year. So objectively, yeah, he probably is in at least the top 10 executives in the league. However, I kind of find myself thinking that the Yankees are in a similar situation as like the Pittsburgh Steelers, where yes, they consistently make the playoffs. They're a historical franchise, but Mike Tomlin's been there for a long time. And it's kind of like it's just gotten a little stale. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Hal Steinbrenner saying, hey, look, telling Cashman, hey, look, voluntarily like step down. We're not going to fire you, but just like step away. Yeah. But it's time to just think differently. Because clearly something hasn't worked. And if you look in the last 5 years, this team, this front office has had a lot of dead money. So my question to Steinbrenner would be, I know you spent a lot of money, but do you feel like your resources that are being spent wisely or to the maximum potential that they could be spent? That would be my question.
So 2 things. One, I like how you said think differently, because Apple has this, tagline, and it's think different. And that's always bothered me because that is grammatically incorrect. The other thing, I agree with you 100%.
I'm a college-educated man, dude.
That's a little bit of just a little rant on my end there, off-season rant. It was not worthy of rant cam. But I agree with you that a little bit of turnover is good. You don't want as much turnover as his dad had, George, right? Where you're firing the manager 3 times a year and you're replacing the GM and moving guys around, because that creates instability. But I also think that you can go too far in the other direction where, like you said, things get stale. You got to keep some fresh ideas in the room, like younger baseball minds, like, and maybe they're doing that with the analytics staff and stuff like that. But like, I've kind of wanted a Theo Epstein type of GM, and he's not even that young anymore, but like someone of that ilk, right? A David Stearns. Like I've wanted one of those. AJ Preller. Like, I don't know if I want AJ Preller to be the GM because he's a little bit too much of a gunslinger for me. But if they hired him, I'd at least be excited, not for our farm system, but I would be like, we're gonna get some studs. We're gonna get some freaking studs. So that's kind of where I'm at on Hal, and we'll talk about Cashman in just a minute. But any final thoughts on Hal before we go to the ad for today?
Well, just the thing about the GM thing is like I wanted Theo Epstein so badly. I think he's better as commissioner of baseball now. But the way they should do it is look, what did the Dodgers do? They took the Rays general manager and they made it their general manager, and now they just won back-to-back championships because they took the new school analytics aspect of baseball and combine it with the major market money. We can spend more money than everybody else.
Real
That's what
money
the
ball.
Yankees need to do. That's what the
Moneyball on
Yankees need to do.
steroids. Exactly.
That's exactly what the Dodgers did. So I'm just kind of like, go to Tampa and just be like, who's the best executive here? I'll double your salary to come to the Yankees.
And you know, part of what the Dodgers did, I think, financially, is they got creative. You know, and I don't know if the Yankees have gotten that creative, like with all the deferred money and stuff like that. I know that a lot of people are saying that's bad for baseball, but that's the type of creativity. They're run by like a hedge fund group, I think, right? So they've got a lot of financial.
It's the Guggenheim Group. Yeah, they're like investors and they know exactly what they're doing with like finances and stuff like that. Yes.
You know, one of the Guggenheims, I think, was supposed to be on the Titanic, and there was like even a Guggenheim suite. Maybe he was on the Titanic. I think he canceled at the last minute. But anyway, that's something for the chat to look up. Anyway, all right, quick word from our sponsor, but first a quick word from me. Then we'll be back to talk about Brian. Hey, just a reminder, get that like on, get that subscribe on, smash those buttons so you can join us for every single episode all year long.
If you are still carrying a clunky leather brick that can be mistaken for an old school wallet, may I introduce you to what Eric Kratz is getting himself for the holidays.
I mean, this is the greatest wallet that I've ever seen in my life. Your credit cards fit in here. It's adjustable, lifetime guaranteed. Like like this is a must-have for the holidays. Absolute must-have.
Ridge Olive Matte. That is the design that Kratz has right now, and you can get a hold of that. There's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from over at Ridge. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/foul to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/foul for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about Ridge. Tell them Foul Territory sent you.
I got a real problem with them forcing us to look at the Dodgers World Series.
Just about to say that.
But thank you to our sponsor, Ridge.
I saw that at the end. I was like, there's no way they have the Dodger championship thing.
I know.
Right now.
I don't get to control that, but I wasn't going to Photoshop it out, but hey, that's just, hey, it is what it is. You want to get paid, you got to show the ad. So let's talk a little bit about Brian Cashman. 56 years old, GM since Groundhog Day of 1998, four-time champion. He is the architect of the current roster. Some people would call him a prospect hugger. There have been many instances, and I feel like we're going to go longer on Cashman than we did on Hal because there's so much up and down with him, and he's so much more visible. But he has built a steady contender. The Yankees are in the playoffs most years. They're relevant always. He drafted Aaron Judge. This is best draft pick, 3-time MVP, should be a 4-time MVP, late in the first round. He hired Boone. He hired Girardi. He also fired Girardi. So thinking about, what we know about Cashman's career, like what stands out to you is like let's start with his best move, other than drafting Judge. That's the obvious one. What do you think his best move that he has made?
Recently the Jazz Chisholm move was good. I don't really recall. It's funny though, with the whole prospect hugger thing, it is true, but it's also not true in the sense where he's made some deals where I think the most significant prospects that he's given up, at least in the Judge year, let's just call it the Judge year, that I can think of off the top of my head is the Joey Gallo move, which was awful. We gave up Ezekiel Duran and Josh A. Smith, who ended up being, pretty solid big league players. But other than that, like you're thinking about like a James Caprillion or a Chance Adams or Jorge Mateo, like guys that really didn't materialize and become anything. With the prospect hugging, you don't want to prospect hug, but you got to be careful. We were talking about Fernando Tatis. He was on the White Sox and he got traded for James Shields, dude.
Yeah.
James Shields.
That's wild.
And James Shields was awful for the White Sox. Terrible. Another one I can think of is Corey Kluber traded to the Cleveland Indians at the time to the Texas Rangers for Emmanuel Clase, straight up. And Kluber, I think, pitched like 3 innings for the Rangers. So
that was a pretty awful bet for the Guardians. No, I was kidding.
But my point being is, like, I think it's important to develop your own guys, and it also helps massage the payroll and keep it to a point where things are going to be under control. But, you know, when there's a guy like Fernando Tatis out there, who do you want? Who do you want? So as far as best moves go, I think of a Jazz Chisholm. That was a good move. I think signing Cody Bellinger was a good move. I honestly think the Soto
traded for Bellinger.
Traded for Bellinger, excuse me. That was a great move. I think trading for Soto, I mean, we didn't retain him, and it was a pretty obvious move, but I still think it's a good move. They went to the World Series. He had a great season. So, you know, it's funny though, because like you asked me the good moves, and I got more bad moves coming in my head than good moves. But
well, let me go through my favorites. So obviously, the first one that comes to mind is a little bit before your time, Scott Brocious for Kenny Rogers. Rogers was awful. Rogers was not meant for New York, and he proved that not only with the Yankees, but we went to the Mets and he walked the season away against the Braves. I think that Brocious might be his best trade. World Series MVP, all that stuff. He also made some clunkers. He traded Mike Lowell for Ed Yarnall. Mike Lowell went on to become a World Series MVP. Ed Yarnall became nothing, and I think he's called that his worst move ever. There was sneaking up to sign Mark Teixeira. I thought was a savvy move coming out of nowhere. The Stanton one is one I go back and forth on. One, it was out of nowhere and it was a surprise. It was fun, and I'll never forget that grin. You remember the photos of him at the press conference where he just got this grin, like, look what I just did. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when you get your girl a really good present for Christmas and you see her open it and she's loving it or whatever, and you're just like, yep, I did that. I feel like he felt like he gave us a great gift in that moment. Unfortunately, like, you know, he's been injured a lot, right? But he has also had his huge postseason moments. He was the ALCS MVP. So that's a bit of a mixed bag. The injuries were kind of predictable, you know? And people might say the same thing about a Nando trade, right? I mean, a guy who's had some injuries, he's 26, you know, what will he look like at 34, 35, having used steroids and having had motorcycle accidents and so forth? I don't know. But to me, it's just a mixed bag with Cashman. I like that he will spend. Obviously, like, he'll outbid guys to go, you know, he'll get Max Fried. You know, he'll make those moves. But he also...
Is that Steinbrenner, though?
Well, that's true. I guess he's the roster architect. Yes, you know, at a certain price level, you have to go to the owner to get approval, right? It's like if you're buying lunch for the team, you know, Cashman. If you're like, I'm going to get a food truck for the guys this weekend, you don't need to ask Steinbrenner. You can put that in the expense chart. If you're committing him to $500 million, $400 million, $300 million, he's got to be in the room, right? He's got to be the one that signs off on it. So above a certain level, I think it always goes to Steinbrenner. But I feel like Cashman he was the architect of Plan B, right? And you can make the case that even though we didn't get to the World Series, this year's team was better than 2024. I thought it was more athletic. The pitching was better, even without Garrett Cole, and they won 94 games. You know, if you had Garrett Cole, you probably win the American League East. You probably win 97, 98 games, right? So I have some faith in Cashman. I have faith that he'll figure out a way to make the Yankees relevant with his budget. I don't know if he's got the cojones to go out and make the big deal, to go out and make the Nando deal, or to empty the farm for Paul Skeens if he becomes available. Although he did say, that's one of the few times he's spoken about a player on another team. He said that, like, the only guy I would have traded Lombard and Jones for was Paul Skeens. He said that. So, like, if that offer came on the table, right, how's that not tampering, first of all? And
yeah, I was like, I think you get fined for that.
He probably did.
He probably did get a fine for that, yeah.
Yeah,
but
you're not really
supposed to talk about other players like that.
I liked when he
think,
got pulled over by the cops. Remember that when he was, and they thought he was the seaside strangler or whatever.
Yeah. I'll say though, like the positive with him though, first of all, the Chapman deal with Gleyber Torres, where they shipped him off to Chicago and then they re-signed Chapman. So that was almost like a rental. Like in soccer, you can rent players to other teams for money like that. So I think that was a good move. That was pretty savvy. And then I'll give him the gold star, and he can always build. Except last year, he can always build a bullpen out of nothing. I've seen him like sign guys, trade guys, where I'm like, who is this? And then they come out and they're like a lockdown 7th, 8th inning guy. Yeah. So I'll give him the kudos on that one.
Our pen had some problems this year, but it's pretty unusual.
Not last year, but
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue this conversation. We are going to talk about Yankees pitching, who they might go after in terms of starting pitching, what we can expect from Garrett Cole coming off of Tommy John surgery in his age 35 season. We're going to talk about year 2 of Cam Schlittler. We're going to talk about the Devin Williams rumors. We're going to talk about some potential bullpen fits. Edwin Diaz, Pete Fairbanks. We're going to talk about all of that, and that episode will come out tomorrow. It's possible that moves will happen between now and then, but, the studio is going to be under construction. Guys, I've been using the same desk for 4 years now, and it's starting to sag because I got so many monitors on it. So I ordered 2 new desks. I ordered 2 standing desks that are coming tomorrow, and I'm going to put them together. And I'm switching from having 3 monitors. I got one big 49-inch monitor, and I'm just going to use my iPad as like a little sidecar. So I'm setting all that up tomorrow. Everything starts arriving tomorrow. It's going to take me a couple of days probably to take everything apart and set everything back up. So if something happens, you might get an update from my phone or whatever. But otherwise, enjoy tomorrow's episode with me and TK where we talk Yankees pitching, and we'll see you then.